Hey, hope you're having a great day. So, today we are going to be talking about some popular books that I have read that are like book talk books that are super popular. I'm going to let you know if I like them, if I don't like them, honest reviews, honest recommendations. If I liked them, worth the hype, are they not? I don't know. So, let's get into it. Start off strong. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I liked it. I think it was a super cute book, super STEM, women based. I really enjoyed it. It was quirky, it was nerdy, it was fun. It was super sweet. The MMC is to die for. Jack, loved him. Totally book husband for sure, for sure. I really liked this story. It was actually really fun. I feel like this is a really fun summer read. I don't know. I think you could read it anytime, but I think it was more fun, summery. But I really enjoyed it. So she is a PhD grad. She is just trying to find her way in the world. She's working like a bunch of different jobs and just trying to find a job like that makes enough money for her actual degree. And so, in order to kind of make up the gap, especially through college and grad school and things like that, she had been doing like an app, I guess you could say, and she would go on dates but be like a fake date. So people would hire her and guys would hire her to like go to these family functions. Like people, like they do it all the time. Like you hire somebody to be your boyfriend in Thanksgiving. Like that's what she did, but she was like the girlfriend. So she normally doesn't do it like you're not supposed to do it with the same person more than like one or two times. Well, she had been doing it several times with this one guy, ended up becoming really good friends with him, but of course it's just kind of helping her pay her way and just kind of make ends meet in this world. And so she ends up meeting the family several times and kind of gets to know them. Well, she ends up getting a huge job offer. She's super stoked, so excited. She goes, and then she has like a big review board and with all these people. Well, the brother of the guy she was fake dating is the guy on the board and somebody she would be working with. And so, of course, she lies about everything about who she is when she actually goes on these fake dates. And so he's just like, does my brother know like who you are and like all this other stuff, and it's super super fun. It's quirky. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Becomes happily ever after. It's really funny. The grandma snippets hilarious. Once you read it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But definitely 5-star read. I'd read it again. Quirky, women's STEM, PhD. They're not somebody who's represented a whole lot. Super cool. I really enjoyed it. Definitely read the book. Okay, next is Icebreaker. So I really like this book. Is it the best book I've written or like read in the entire world? No, obviously not. But I really enjoyed it. It is about a hockey player, the star hockey player. He's the captain, and then she is a figure skater who is training for the Olympics. Something happens at their college, and they normally have two rinks so they can practice, but now they only have one rink, and now they have to share the time. And so there's lots of tension and forced proximity and just this budding college relationship. It ends up being super cute. I like it. There's several points where I literally want to throw the book because of her ice skating partner, and once you read it, you'll understand. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I would definitely read it again. I don't think it is as good as the second book, which is Wildfire, which is what we're going to talk about right now. I much preferred Wildfire over Icebreaker, but Icebreaker is still good. These are technically it's series but interconnected standalones. It's kind of a crossover some of the characters, but nothing like major. Because I had actually read Wildfire first instead of Icebreaker by accident because I didn't realize like there were some people there were some I think concepts of like the hockey team and things like that that you kind of needed to know from book one for book two, but it wasn't like super necessary for the story because of course they kind of like overlap some things when they talk about it. But anyway, Wildfire, love this book. I'd read this book over and over again. So the main character, her dad is in the F1 world. I think he's chief principal officer or something. So he's gone all the time. So she comes from like a very wealthy family and just lots of mommy and daddy issues going on, lots of things happening. And of course, these are college kids. And then she kind of always goes for these basketball dudes, and she just happens to go to a hockey party one night. Meets Russ, the other main character. He's a hockey player on the team, and he comes from a very not necessarily abusing childhood, but there's alcoholic dad, things like that. He's got some issues for sure. And so things start to happen. She just happens to meet this guy, ends up being a one night stand. There's a bit of miscommunication. He goes to the bathroom after they get done having stuff, and she just thinks he's waiting for him or like for her to leave after the whole thing happens. So she leaves, doesn't get his number or anything, but it's about to be summer break. So literally the next day she is gearing up to go to this camp that she used to go to when she was a younger kid, because of course her family was never there. So she goes and is now the camp counselor there in the summers. So she's super excited, gets there, and then lo and behold, guess who else is there? The guy with the one night stand she just had with Russ. Oh, it's a shocker. So cute. Like, oh my gosh, what is happening? So of course they're not supposed to mingle or anything like that. So they just had this hot and steamy night, like life-changing stuff happens, and now they're not supposed to keep their hands on, like, this huge miscommunication. It's super cute. It's super heartwarming. It's like a true first love. They work out their differences and work out some family issues, and it's super cute. Ah, I loved it. I loved the ending. I would read this book a million times over. Highly, highly suggest it. If you're unsure about Icebreaker, I highly suggest Wildfire. It's totally worth it. I think it's better than Icebreaker, but I really liked it. I would read it again. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Ooh, so good. So good. I heard a lot about this book. It's a lot of 50-50 about some people really liked it, some people really didn't like it, because normally Ali Hazelwood is like a STEM girl and not a fantasy girly. So I don't know. I enjoyed this book a lot. So vampires, werewolves, humans, they're all in this kind of a truce kind of happening. They know they're all like humans know that they exist, like werewolves and vampires, and they're just like in this like really big like, hey, like, we're gonna exchange things, and then this very political kind of world, like teetering on the edge of war. And so what happens is the humans are starting to get an upper hand, and so the vampires are really worried about this. And so what the vampires do, they propose to the werewolves, like, hey, you marry one of us, and we will help you getting up against the humans if a war starts to break out. And so this is really, really fun, and it ends up being one of like the high counselors in the vampire council, or whatever you want to call them. She ends up marrying the like king of werewolves, or like head werewolf. I don't know what they're necessarily called in the series. Anyway, so they get married, but she has different motives for marrying him. It's not just, number one, to fulfill like what her dad told her, and to kind of keep war at bay, but she marries him because her best friend is missing, and she wants to know where she went, and it was somehow connected to the werewolf king, or whatever you want to call him. And so it is a little bit, I will say there's a lot of elements going on in the story, but it's really, really good. It really was a page turner. It really does get pretty spicy. I was not prepared for that in this book, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's got everything you really want out of like a fantasy book. It's got super killer plot. It's got the vampires, werewolves. It's got some politics going on. It's just a really fun read. I definitely would read it again. It's one of my top books of 2024, to be completely honest. But moving on, One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crown series. I've heard so many good things about this series. I'm gonna be honest, I was disappointed. I didn't really like it. The first book was okay. I think it's a very interesting, very interesting magic and very interesting world, and it was okay. I don't know. I just got bored. I ended up DNFing the second one. I just got bored with it. I think the concept was there, but it's a very simple magic system, if that makes sense, and it was just boring. I don't know. So it's like you get these tarot cards, but then there's fog. I don't know. I just thought it was boring. There's a lot of people who rave about this series, but I just think it was a simple enough storyline, and it's just a duology. It's just the two books, but I just thought it was too simple. It was boring, especially to be in a fantasy world. It was too simple. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but in my mind, it's just like, you don't have to have it so high fantasy you don't understand what's happening, but I think it was just too simple that I just got bored with it. It wasn't different enough for me to be like, oh yeah, this is a great series. So read at your own discretion. Just not one of my favorite series. I don't know if I necessarily suggest for you to read it, but they're quick and easy reads. I just personally DNF'd the second one. I just got bored with it. I need to be entertained. If I can set the book down, it's not a good book for me. It's not going to get a rating. It has to keep me going in a page turner to really get my 5 stars. So that's just my opinion. Ooh, Night Shift. Okay. So I kept seeing this in Target, okay? I'd passed it like several times, and I didn't realize like it was a popular book until after I'd read it and like watched it, or like was reading reviews about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize it was popular. You know what I mean? So I was just super excited for it. And so it's about a college romance. She is like the bookie girl, and she's like works in the library part-time, and he is a college basketball player. It's kind of like a chance meeting, and it's just super cute. They fall in love. Like, this is what I literally would imagine a college experience should be. Of course, it's definitely not, I think, true to any extent, but it's just like, this is a first love, and this is true love. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's a little crazy, but it's so beautiful. It was a super fun story. Of course, this is a college age romance. It does get pretty spicy, I will say. But of course, just kind of going into that, when you kind of get mad at the characters, just remember, like, they're college kids. They're in their early 20s. They don't know what the heck they're doing with their life. They don't understand what's going on. But I liked it. I'd read it again. Highly suggest it. Okay, Love Hypothesis. Also another Ali Hazelwood book. I don't think it is as good as Love Hypothetically. Love Theoretically. What am I saying? It's not as good as Love Theoretically. But I still think it's fun. It's a STEM girl book. I think it was okay. So pretty much, she is a PhD grad. She's just trying to finish up. She is losing her funding for her research in order to graduate. And so one of her friends is like wants to date the guy that she was dating before, but she doesn't want to because, of course, like girl code, she does not want to interfere in like past relationships and like date your best friend's ex. But the main character is just like, no, like you can date him, like it's not that big a deal. Like we weren't together for that long. I didn't really have that much attachment. And so she comes up with like a fake dating advice. So she literally goes and kisses the first guy she sees, ends up being a professor. And so they start this fake dating scenario. Now, they're not like, he's not her overarching professor or anything like that, but they are within the same college. And it's like a workplace, college romance, I guess, kind of thing. But she is, of course, in her later 20s. And I think it was a good book. It was fun. It's a little messy, but I enjoyed it. Again, I don't think it's as good as her other book in the series, but again, still a good read. I'd suggest it. Out on a limb. Oh, be still my beating heart. Out on a limb. I am not a pregnancy trope girly at all. This is the only exception. I swear to goodness, this book is the only exception I will read for pregnancy trope. Oh, so wholesome. This is such a good book. Oh, I read it again and again and again. I'm serious. You need to read this book. I absolutely love this book. Do not let the trope scare you. I am not a pregnancy trope girly, but it is so worth it. It is such a wholesome book. It's not very often that I read just a happy book. Of course, there's like some stuff happens that's not great, but it's not like this dark romance or this high fantasy series that just like kills your love and vibes and you're like dead for 5 days and you're trying to recover. This is a very good book. It's light, it's happy, it's heartfelt, it's just so wholesome. It's such a beautiful love story. So she has a disability. She has like something like a small hand, just what she was born with. She goes to a friend's house, ends up having a one night stand with a guy who only has like one leg with press egg, ends up getting pregnant, and they just kind of start living together just to help out because they're like a little bit older and they're like she didn't want to get rid of the baby, and it's just it ends up they end up falling in love, and it's just super sweet. Like, this is such a beautiful love story. Oh, I highly suggest it. I read it again and again. Don't let the trope scare you. Totally worth the read. Totally worth the read. Okay, Divine Rivals. Okay, so lots to say on this one. So I heard again so many things about this series, Divine Rivals, and I think it's the second book, Ruthless Vows. So I literally waited until the second book came out because I knew that was going to be like the last book, so I could just read it in order. I hate being left on cliffhangers, so I literally waited until the second book came out, and I was sorely disappointed with this book. I was bored. There's weird shit going down. I just didn't like it. And there's so many people that hate me for saying that, but I just didn't like the book. I thought it was boring. I didn't DNF it. I did read it all the way through. I was really trying to give it the whole army try, I guess. I don't know. But I didn't like it. So pretty much, I think the thing was, there's just too many concepts in the book that I could not picture. So when I read, I literally see like it playing out in my head like a TV show. Like, I don't just hear the words being said. Like, I literally see it. I need enough context to watch it like I would watch a TV show or a movie. Like, that is how I see it in my head. That's just how my brain works. So for this one, so there's a war going on, okay? And it's a war against the gods, but it's set in like a 1940s-ish era, 1950s. So I'm thinking like World War II vibes, but with gods who are battling against each other. But then there are, I don't know if it's necessarily dragons or wyverns. I can't necessarily remember. But with the war going on, she is a reporter and she's just trying to get into the world. Her brother leaves, goes and gets deployed, and is on doing whatever he does in war. And so she ends up becoming a war reporter. And so she goes out there and is trying to like see both sides of the war. But then they're typing on this like magical typewriter, and then that's how she then kind of gets together with the male main character, but they're kind of rivals. But then there's dragons or wyverns dropping bombs. If you're confused right now, I was confused reading the book. Like I could not get around the concept. It was like 1940s, 50s vibe, but with gods and with typewriters and wyverns or dragons dropping bombs. I just couldn't picture it, and then it ended on the worst cliffhanger. It was like trying to build up, but I just thought it was like boring, plain all the way through. And again, it was just so many concepts that I could not picture it. Like, why is a wyvern dropping a bomb, but they're on magical typewriters? Like, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I didn't enjoy it. There's a lot of people that did, but I don't know. Too many things going on for me. I personally wouldn't read it. I don't know if I'd suggest it to anybody, but that's just my opinion. Another one. Oh, What the River Knows. I was so excited for this book. When I tell you I was excited for this book, I was excited for this book. Like, again, I pre-ordered this book. Like, that's how excited I was. I pre-ordered it. And it's supposed to be like a young adult mummy. You know, the movie The Mummy from Brendan Fraser. I think it's like a late 1990s or early 2000s film. One of my all-time favorites. And that was kind of, I felt like what it was advertised as. And I was super excited for it. But I pre-ordered it. I was ready for it to go. I was so bored. I think I kept guessing what was happening. I just couldn't grasp a lot of like what was going on, and I just was super disappointed in it. And it ended up being like the weirdest ending to get to the book two, which I don't know if book two is out or if it's coming out soon. But I was just really disappointed. I really thought it was gonna be like the Mummy vibes, and it is. It's set in like Egypt, but it's just there wasn't any magic. There really wasn't like all this and it was just I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I was really disappointed with it. I just expected more, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it from this one. Super disappointing. Wouldn't suggest. There's a better book if you like The Mummy. I'll put a picture of it right here. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I'll put a picture. Like, I can see the book title in my head, but I can't like picture what it actually is. But this is like a better suggestion if you're looking for something, especially fall vibes. But something for like if you like The Mummy, this would be a better option than What the River Knows. But anyway, moving on. Don't suggest that one. Oh, Light Lark. Oh, Light Lark. Okay, so this is I believe it's going to be a trilogy. The third book is coming out here soon. Oh, so excited. But Light Lark, you need to read it. You need to read it. If you are a fantasy person, read Light Lark, okay? Such a good book. It will keep you guessing. It will keep you on your toes. Woo! It just keeps you going. Keeps you going. So pretty much, magical world. I believe it's every 100 years, they have to, all the rulers of all of the different kind of factions or islands have to go and battle it out to kind of break the curse. So each island has its own curse. And so the main character is like I guess it's like she's like I don't remember the exact like I don't even know what you call it. What like the exact like curse that they're put on, other than like her people have to eat hearts. Pretty much is like men's hearts. They're like this kind of like a siren, but like a land siren. Like they're not like killing people, but they do lure men in to eat men's hearts, and that's how they have to live. And so it's about her and the main character, and they all have to go to this main island, and the king is there, and he also, because of course he's one of the main island holders, and so they go, and they're all kind of either battling each other or just trying to figure out what is happening and how to break this curse and how to free all their people. There's so many twists and turns. Oh, such a good book. Really keeps you on edge, and I would suggest it a million times over. If you are looking to get into like the fantasy world, I would highly suggest this. This is so good. Keeps you guessing. I think it's listed as a young adult novel. I wouldn't say it's super spicy, but would I consider it young adult? Maybe. I don't know. Not necessarily in this first book, but in the second book, I think it gets a little spicier. But I still don't know if it necessarily would recommend it for a young adult, but it is listed as an adult. I don't think there's anything like spicy enough that's bad enough to not like let like a 16-year-old read. But I think it's still good. I highly liked it. Highly suggest it. One of my top reads of all time. Highly suggest Light Lark. Read it, read it, read it. Okay. Next, The Fine Print, Lauren Asher. I loved this book. I think it was fun. It was a short rom-com. It was, so imagine like either Disney World or Disneyland, like the actual place, not like just Disney in general, but like Disney World, Disneyland, and like actually living there. So it follows the main character, and she is like, her parents had worked at like this Disneyland theme site like for her entire life, and so she currently works there at like the kind of like the Bippity Boppity Boo boutique, you know, where they have for little girls or little boys even to like get dressed up and get all fancy for the day and like dress in like princesses, things like. So she's currently working there, but she actually is like a visual design or like some type of artistic major, and so they host like this big old thing to, like, in order to work there, like get into the arts department, like they open it up for any like employee, doesn't matter what you're currently doing. They're like, hey, we need a theme of like whatever project, give us some ideas. And so she entered in, she ends up winning it, and then she ends up getting the job. And then the other main character, the male main character and the love interest, he is the one who owns this company. So in order to get like his portion of the company, like he has to hit certain milestones or something in order to be able to like inherit everything. I don't remember the exact like things you have to hit, but pretty much like the grandpa or grandma, I think it was a grandpa, um, left him and like the other two brothers, like they have to do certain things in order to get their inheritance and be able to stay in with the family um, business, which is like this Disney World type themed amusement park. And so they kind of bat heads the two main characters and end up falling in love. It is a happily ever after. I really liked it. I think it was really fun. I will say I did not like the other two books in the series. I just thought they were okay. But this first book I really enjoyed. I'd read it again. Highly worth it. Okay, last one. Last one. Pucking Around. Whoo! If you are a Spice Girl and a Why Choose person, this is your book. So I literally read this book and I just thought it was a hockey romance. I had no idea. I had just started getting into reading. I had read it like middle of last year, I think, and it's pretty spicy. Oh, I was not prepared for that. And I don't know, I literally think I just like saw it on Kindle Unlimited. I was like, oh, I'll read that. And then I read it and I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting at all. They do have a little novella for the first one. I highly suggest reading that because it does help make the book, like this book, Pucking Around, a little easier to read and understand the story, like kind of prefacing it. But I don't think it's necessary to read. But it's super short. It's like under 300 pages. You'll get it done within like a couple hours, and then it just kind of helps you get into the story of Pucking Around this book. I really enjoyed it. So she is a, I think, physical therapist or some type of doctor, and she pretty much was having a hard time, like lost her internship that I was supposed to be going to, and then ends up going to this NHL team, and she would pretty much hit rock bottom. She had lost her internship, things were happening. She ends up having a one night stand with this one guy, but she didn't leave her his number, contact information, nothing. So fast forward, her life has gotten better. It's like several months later. She ends up getting an internship with this NHL team. While she ends up showing up, guess who's on the NHL team? The guy she had the one night stand with. Woo-hoo-hoo! But she had already met one of the other workers that she'd be working with. I think he was like the sports trainer or something, and like there's a little bit of love interest spark kind of happening there. So this is a male, 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 female. I think that's how you describe it. Lots of guys turning with a one girl. I liked it. This is a poly relationship. I'm not really one to read these books because I'm like, I don't understand the relationship dynamics. It's a lot going on for me to picture in my head. But this was really well done. I really enjoyed it. It was a really good read, and it's just kind of going about the ins and outs of like her trying to figure out her life, and then now having all these love interests, and then possibility of being in this huge polyamorous relationship. It was just so good. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. I highly suggest it. If you are into spice and into this type of trope, where having multiple men and one female. If you're not into that, don't read this book, but it is worth every spice. It is such a good story. It's sweet, happily ever after. It really answers a lot of questions of like poly relationships, I feel like, too. So I'm like, how does that work? Like, when you have more than one, person to be in a relationship with, it definitely answers those questions, and it's a really fun dynamic. It keeps you on your toes the whole way, and it was just a really good read. Like, I would read it again, so I'd suggest it. I think it was fun. All right, those are all of the popular books that I have read so far. And let me know if you've read any of them. I'd love if you enjoyed this video to go ahead and like and, of course, subscribe for more. So we will get going. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one.